Number one of the greatest single half performances I've ever seen in basketball. I've fully watched all of Magic, all of Bird, all of Chuck, all of Jordan, Ewing, Olajuwon, all of them. It was one of the best halves. It was in the top 5 best offensive halves of basketball I've ever seen.
The stakes couldn't have been higher. After Caitlin Clark's 5-game absence that left the WNBA in complete disarray, her performance in her first game back from injury went far beyond a solid showing. She left the entire basketball world and even her opponents on the court in complete awe. Yes, I'm going to say it. Caitlin Clark is the best basketball player in the world. She is the best basketball player I have ever seen. The difference maker, the needle mover, and the face of basketball right now, Caitlin Clark, Magic demonstrated in a 38-second sequence why she is the best. She had swagger, everything, and most importantly, a sense of the moment. With the league on her heels and the spotlight on her, she delivered the goods in a way that even the Liberty players and their coach couldn't hide in a world of sound bites and photos. This may have been the most significant game in WNBA history. And you can tell not only by her opponent's response, but also by the haters' desperate attempts to bring her down. Let's discuss everything that transpired. But first, if you were excited to see her come back and leave a win in the comments, watch the game like I did. All right, let's quickly set the scene because this wasn't just any game. As everyone knows, Caitlin Clark missed 5 games due to an injury, and during that time, the WNBA received a harsh and immediate reality check about what life would be like without her. The Indiana Fever went 2-3 without her, including a humiliating loss to the Connecticut Sun, but worse, they were losing the run-and-gun team that everyone loved and that fans expected to see. The Indiana Fever was suddenly playing slower than the DMV on a Tuesday morning. The truth is that if the Fever aren't playing fun, fast basketball like Caitlin Clark, the entire league suffers, and man, did they ever feel it. She had better return soon because during Caitlin Clark's absence, sight out of mind ratings crashed more quickly than an amateur submarine, dropping over 50% of the league. To make matters worse, the void left by her absence was not filled with highlight reels, but rather with compilations of Angel Reese's missed layups and Deja A. Carrington's attempts to fill the chaos void left by Kennedy Carter. Meanwhile, the casual fans, the ones the league sorely needs to grow, were tuning out because without Caitlin, the excitement, the energy, and the product simply weren't there. Although casual fans had been treated well, I felt that the media handled a lot of things wrong with the WNBA last season, especially with Caitlin Clark and her fan base. One thing that comes to mind when you consider how many people stopped watching is that after Caitlin Clark was hurt, many people boycotted the WNBA because they didn't want to support other teams or players, whether they liked them or not. This was the result of how the media and the league itself handled Caitlin Clark. When it was finally announced that Caitlin Clark was cleared to play, you could almost hear the collective sigh of relief from the league's fever. This was the ultimate find-out moment for a league that had just forced Indiana fans to endure a 10-day hate speech investigation based on unsubstantiated rumors while ignoring obvious vitriol toward Fever players. Of course, this came after months of players and the media disparaging those same fans, accusing them of not being true basketball fans. The new fans are currently ruining the W. When we last saw Caitlin Clark on the court, she was being fouled on a game-tying attempt without a call as the clock expired, giving the Liberty a 90-88 victory. The timing and stage couldn't have been better scripted. Get open, 1 second left, and Clark doesn't get the shot off, collapsing her. That game had a record high viewership of 3 million, which, as we all seen, fell the instant Caitlin was ruled out. Now, she was playing against the same Liberty squad that had won all of their games without her, and everyone had the same too. The Fever were behind early, but Caitlin Clark turned the game around in what may go down as the most influential 38 seconds in WNBA history to date. She completely changed the course of events, and Cunningham is down behind the play, but they have Caitlin Clark too. There were questions about how she would look and how much she could improve this team, but the moment she stepped back on the court, And man, we were in for a show. It was not just a scoring run, it was a statement that sent the sports world into a frenzy. In the first half, Caitlin Clark hit 3 logo bombs in 38 seconds. By the way, this was the Caitlin Clark, and we all said, oh, she's back. Players with incredible Clark, another long 3. She stepped up and drilled 3 deep 3-pointers in a row, each one more confident and electric than the last. The Caitlin Clark we saw today was the Caitlin Clark we were used to seeing. Oh, it feels good, people. It was another iconic moment for Caitlin Clark, right up there with that long bomb 3 from the Brazil game that had everyone talking. She has a knack for rising to the occasion, not just performing under pressure, but doing it with flair. She doesn't just deliver on the court, she gives the fans exactly what they came to see. The Caitlin Clark show is very real. Caitlin Clark's ability to step up and perform is amazing. There's a certain star quality and star power there, but it seems like it takes confidence and willingness to say, oh, no, I know what you want, come here, I'm gonna give it to you. I loved it so much. And that was just the beginning. She had already enthralled the crowd and social media, but what she did next left even her opponents on the court in complete awe. Later in the first half, Caitlin hit the second-year players clearing out that side of the floor and shooting at Stewie, then watching the reaction with one another. Stewie laughing, Caitlin knowing it's ridiculous, just out there having a good time with it. Stewie couldn't help but smile after what Caitlin just pulled off, and that tells you everything you need to know. Stewie's reaction was absolutely priceless. Nice step back 3, and not just on anyone, on Breanna Stewart, a former MVP and one of the best in the league. When the opposing MVP and the head coach of the opposing team are clearly appreciating the moment, you know you're witnessing something special. That's how impactful Caitlin's performance was, that even her opponents couldn't help but respect it. In all honesty, this should be seen as a great moment for the game if the haters hate it. Stewie couldn't help but laugh when Caleb Clark let her have it, and the media will let it. I'll talk about them in a moment. Ultimately, this should all be about expanding the game and Caitlin Clark's joyous play on the court, which is exactly what the league needs. In any case, the Fever led at the half, and Caitlin had just put on one of the most incredible first half performances we've ever witnessed. She scored 25 points, and because the WNBA quarters are shorter than the NBA's, Caitlin dropped 25 points in the first half. Caitlin was going full throttle every minute she was on the floor, giving it her all, and let's face it, if it were up to her, she probably would have played the entire game. However, this was her first game back against the league's best team, and she was obviously exhausted. So going into the second half, she was going to need some help, especially from a Fever squad that, to be honest, wasn't doing much. Her head coach, Stephanie White, was alternating her in and out of the game. I remember early on in the game when Caitlin had 17 points and then the rest of Fever had 18. That's how much of the offensive load she was carrying. She was the engine, the spark, and the reason they were in the game. However, in the second half, even though she didn't play as many minutes, her shooting from Howard Boston and Kelsey started making a bit of a comeback shooting. At one point, though, she was terrible in this game. I believe her shooting percentage was 22% on like 14 attempts or something. They went on a run in the fourth quarter without Caitlin Clark, and the main reason for that is that if I'm going to criticize her when things are bad, I'm going to praise her when things are good, because Sid Colson did exactly what she was meant to do, which was to push the pace, play aggressive defense, and run the final few shots. Finally, teammates stepped up when it mattered, hit big shots, made smart plays, and began playing with the energy and confidence that has been missing without her. The Indiana Fever defeated the league's only undefeated team only a few games prior, and it was all due to Caitlin's performance, which wasn't just strong, but also record-setting. I believe that Stephanie White substituted her out more than we would have seen if she had been playing, and the guys nearly had a triple-double in this Game 8. The remaining minutes of the game were a formality, with the Fever and the Liberty simply running out of time on their possessions. That's one of the most absurd stat lines you will ever see from a player in the WNBA or NBA. She became the only player in WNBA history to record that stat line, which isn't bad for your first game back from injury. What's even more absurd is that Caitlin Clark has already produced more games with 30 points than 96 in her young career. Although she is only 23, she accounts for 7% of all WNBA players in history. Yet it wasn't just Caitlin. With Caitlin back, the pace picked up, the ball moved, and the offense actually had rhythm. It was fast, fluid, and enjoyable. Everything this team is supposed to be. The Indiana Fever, or what I like to call Fever basketball, came out and dominated with Caitlin on the court. The Fever played a much more exciting, up-tempo style of basketball, the exact kind of game that fans fell in love with, that was no longer the slow half-court slog they were running without her. This is entirely anecdotal, but this was the first game my wife watched. She isn't even a big sports fan, but she watched from beginning to end because it was Caitlin's return, and her reaction at the end was thrilling. To be honest, we could definitely nitpick missed shots, questionable rotations, and yes, there were a lot of phantom calls. Forget the referees, this was apparently a foul on Lexi Hull, and there were a lot of them throughout the game. For example, Bradley Stewart made 14 free throws, Stewie made 14 phantom fouls, and yes, I don't know what the referees were doing when they reviewed Kelsey Mitchell's three-pointer, because she was a mile behind the line. However, basketball is always amazing when Caitlin Clark is on the court, and this game was no exception. Now, even though the Liberty and Lynx were regarded as the league's best offense, the Indiana Fever just scored 102 points against the Liberty. Not the Lynx, not the FE, not the Aces. None of these is the best offense in the WNBA. Caitlin effing Clark's 102-point performance against the Liberty, the league's best team, is completely insane. It's not just a win, it's a statement. And guess what? A record number of people probably watched it against a team on national television. And guys, I'm going to call it an average of over 3 million viewers today, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if it peaked between 3 and 4 million. I believe there's a chance. I agree with this assessment. It was a significant cultural moment because the haters came out yelling, get this, some people are even claiming that it was scripted, which is all they were talking about at halftime. If you're watching this and the viewership figures are out, leave a check mark or an X in the comments section to let me know if I'm correct or not. Viral tweets saying things like, Caitlin Clark is a disgrace. Her body language is like, man, she just dropped 25 points. You just hate Caitlin. And I'm looking at WBA threads is even hilarious. I'm just going to say, I hate Caitlin Clark, no way around it. She makes me the F sick. You won't convince me the WNBA is not scripted. I'm 100% certain now. And this is apparently scripted for Caitlin Clark. The whole body language thing was particularly funny. According to critics who were trying to find evidence that Caitlin was throwing her, at the end of the day, you could tell the players understood the gravity of the situation. Hands up when Natasha Howard failed to pass the ball to her, despite the fact that she was wide open and on fire. Come on, when someone has the hot hand, you feed them. That's just basketball. And honestly, when people start nitpicking body language, you know you've done something massive. I wouldn't be surprised if the people criticizing Caitlin for getting too fired up were the same ones defending Angel Reese when she stormed at Caitlin after being fouled.